Commander Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Earth defense ship Liberty, watching the stars through the main screen when the message came through the communications system. The sound filled the quiet bridge and made every person there stop what they were doing. Jake knew this was the message they had been waiting for and dreading at the same time. The Galactic Council had made their decision about humanity and Earth. Dr. Lisa Carter moved quickly to the main console and began working on the translation equipment. Her hands moved fast across the controls as alien symbols filled the screen. Jake watched her face change from calm to worried to something close to fear as she read what the aliens had sent them. The other crew members gathered around waiting to hear what their fate would be. The message was clear and simple in the worst possible way. Every major species in the galaxy had voted together on what to do with humans. The Zephyrian Empire, with their tall blue bodies and silver armor, had voted yes. The Crystalline Confederation, with their living rock bodies that sparkled like diamonds, had voted yes. The Hive Collective, with their millions of bug-like creatures all thinking as one, had voted yes. 47 other species across the galaxy had all agreed on the same thing. Humans were too dangerous to be free, but too useful to kill. The official term they used was servitor race, which meant slavery with fancy words. Earth would lose all its colonies in space. Every human living on worlds beyond Earth would be moved to work camps where they would spend the rest of their lives building things for their alien masters. Children would be taken from their parents and raised to be better slaves. The old and sick would be left to die. Jake felt his stomach turn as Lisa read the full message out loud. The aliens gave humanity 72 hours to agree to their demands, or they would attack Earth with enough firepower to turn the planet into burning rock. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the space around Earth. Red dots covered the screen representing alien ships. More than 10,000 ships from dozens of different species, all working together for the first time in galactic history, all working together to destroy human freedom. Admiral Frank Rodriguez received the same message at Luna Base, which served as Earth's main military headquarters. Frank was an old soldier who had fought in 3 different wars, but he had never seen anything like this. The enemy fleet was bigger than anything humans had ever imagined possible. Each of the large alien ships could probably destroy entire human fleets by itself. Together, they represented the combined military might of the entire known galaxy. Frank called an emergency meeting with all his senior officers. The room filled with worried faces as he explained what they were facing. Some officers wanted to fight despite the odds. Others argued that fighting would only get everyone killed faster. Frank listened to all of them, but he knew the truth. Humanity had built a strong military over the past century, but it was designed to fight other humans or maybe one alien species at a time. Fighting the entire galaxy was impossible with their current forces. Captain Amy Brooks was dealing with the practical side of the crisis on Mars Colony 7. She had received orders to begin immediate evacuation of all human civilians to transport ships that would take them to alien work camps. Amy watched families pack their few belongings while children asked questions their parents could not answer. Why couldn't they go home to Earth? Why did they have to leave everything behind? Why were the aliens doing this to them? Amy had no good answers because there were no good answers. The aliens had decided that humans were too aggressive and too adaptable to be allowed full citizenship in galactic society. Humans learned too fast and fought too hard when threatened. They bred too quickly and spread to new worlds too easily. Most of all, they refused to accept their place in the galaxy's established order. The evacuation ships were designed to carry cargo, not families. Parents held their children close as they were loaded into metal containers that would be their homes for the long journey to alien worlds. Amy tried to stay strong for them, but inside she felt like screaming. These were good people who had never hurt anyone. They had come to Mars to build new lives and raise their families in peace. Now they were being punished for crimes they had never committed. Back on Earth, President Richard Hayes prepared to address the planet for what might be the last time as leader of a free world. Richard had been elected on promises of peace and prosperity. He had worked hard to build good relationships with alien species and join the galactic community as equals. Instead, he was about to tell 8 billion people that their freedom was over. The presidential office felt smaller than usual as Richard reviewed his speech one final time. He could see crowds gathering outside the building through his window. Word about the alien ultimatum had leaked to the public and people were demanding answers. Some called for immediate surrender to save lives. Others demanded that Earth fight no matter what the cost. Most just looked scared and confused. Richard's speech was broadcast to every city on Earth and every human settlement in space. He spoke, simply and honestly, about what humanity faced. The aliens were stronger and more numerous than humans could ever hope to match. Fighting would mean the complete destruction of human civilization. Surrendering meant slavery for everyone they loved. There was no good choice to make, but Richard also spoke about something else. He talked about the human spirit that had carried them from caves to the stars. He reminded people that humans had faced extinction before and survived. He did not promise that they would win because he could not make that promise. Instead, he promised that humanity would not disappear quietly into the darkness of slavery. As Richard finished his speech, alien ships began moving into position around Earth. The 72-hour countdown had begun. In homes and shelters across the planet, humans held each other close and wondered if they would live to see another free day. Some prayed to various gods, while others made plans for resistance. All of them knew that everything was about to change, forever. The galaxy had made its decision about humanity. Soon they would learn what humanity decided about the galaxy in return. 6 months had passed since the aliens forced their will upon humanity, and the galaxy looked very different now. Earth appeared empty and broken from space, with most major cities showing signs of abandonment. Alien patrol ships moved through, the solar system checking for signs of human resistance, but finding nothing that worried them. The humans seemed to have accepted their fate as a servitor race without much fight. Dr. Kevin Walsh knew better as he worked in his hidden laboratory, deep beneath what used to be Denver. The facility had been built inside old mining tunnels that the aliens did not know existed. Kevin and his team of 43 scientists had refused evacuation orders and gone underground instead. They lived like moles, now eating preserved food and breathing recycled air, but their work continued every day. Kevin's team had been studying pieces of alien technology that they managed to recover from crashed ships and abandoned equipment. The aliens were careless with their advanced tools because they never imagined that primitive humans could understand how they worked. They were wrong about that, just like they were wrong about many things concerning humanity. The laboratory hummed, with activity as scientists worked on different projects. Some studied alien weapons, trying to find ways to make them work for human hands. Others examined alien armor, looking for weak points that human weapons might penetrate. Kevin himself spent most of his time studying alien computer systems and communication devices. He had discovered that alien technology relied heavily on quantum resonance patterns that could potentially be disrupted if humans understood them better. Lieutenant Colonel Sandra Kim operated from a very different kind of hiding place in the outer solar system. Her base was built inside a large asteroid that had been hollowed out and disguised to look like space rock from the outside. Sandra commanded a team of 200 Special Forces soldiers who had been secretly training for this kind of warfare since the alien ultimatum. Sandra's people specialized in what the military called asymmetric operations, which meant fighting a much stronger enemy using surprise and cunning instead of brute force. They had been studying alien patrol patterns and supply routes for months, learning how the occupying forces moved through human space. The aliens followed predictable schedules and used the same shipping lanes over and over again, making them vulnerable to the right kind of attack. The asteroid base contained machine shops where Sandra's engineers modified human weapons and equipment for stealth operations. They built small, fast ships that could avoid alien sensors and developed new explosives designed specifically to damage alien technology. Most importantly, they trained constantly in zero-gravity combat because most of their missions would take place in space where humans actually had some advantages over their larger alien enemies. On the mining world of Keth 9 in the Zephyrian system, construction foreman Tony Rivera lived a double life that would have gotten him killed if the aliens discovered his secret. During the day, he supervised human work crews building new mining facilities for their Zephyrian masters. He followed orders without complaint and made sure his workers met their daily quotas. The aliens considered him a model example of human cooperation. At night, Tony became something very different. He met with other human workers in hidden locations throughout the mining complex and coordinated sabotage operations that were carefully designed to look like accidents. A drilling machine would malfunction and destroy expensive equipment. A support beam would fail, causing minor cave-ins that delayed production. Computer systems would develop mysterious glitches that took days to repair. The sabotage was subtle, enough that the aliens blamed it on human incompetence rather than deliberate resistance. They increased security around the most important facilities, but they never suspected that their model human foreman was the one organizing the attacks. Tony used coded messages hidden in daily work reports to communicate with resistance cells on other worlds. The aliens never bothered to read the boring technical details in those reports, which made them perfect for hiding secret information. Dr. Helen Price had perhaps the most dangerous assignment of any human in the resistance network. She continued. Her research aboard what appeared to be an abandoned space station in the neutral zone between alien territories. The station had been damaged during the initial invasion, and the aliens believed it was too worthless to salvage. They were wrong about that, too. Helen had been working on quantum resonance theory for over a decade before the invasion. Now she was applying that knowledge to alien technology with results that excited and terrified her. She had discovered that alien shields and weapons all operated on similar quantum frequencies. If those frequencies could be disrupted, the aliens would lose their main technological advantages over humanity. The breakthrough came when Helen managed to analyze a piece of alien shield generator that Sandra's people had stolen during a raid. The device used quantum fields to deflect energy weapons and physical projectiles, but the field itself was vulnerable to resonance cascade failure. Helen calculated that the right frequency pulse could cause an alien shield to collapse completely, leaving the ship or soldier defenseless. Helen worked alone most of the time with only her computer systems for company. The isolation was driving her slightly crazy, but she pushed forward because she knew how important her research was. Every day she spent solving the puzzle was another day that humans suffered in alien work camps. Every breakthrough brought them closer to having weapons that could actually hurt their enemies. The most horrifying discovery came through intercepted alien communications that Kevin's team managed to decode. The aliens were not content with simply enslaving humanity. They had developed what they called genetic modification protocols designed to make humans more docile and obedient. The procedures would be tested on children first because young minds were easier to alter permanently. The news spread through the resistance network like fire through dry grass. Parents who had been separated from their children during the evacuation learned that their sons and daughters were about to be turned into living robots. Workers in the camps heard that their families back on Earth were scheduled for brain surgery that would erase their personalities forever. The aliens had made many mistakes in their treatment of humanity, but this was the biggest one. They had given the resistance a reason to fight that went beyond mere survival. Now it was about saving the souls of everyone they loved. The underground network began preparing for operations that would have seemed impossible just weeks before. Kevin's scientists worked faster than ever before developing new weapons and communication systems. Sandra's soldiers planned increasingly bold raids on alien supply convoys. Tony's sabotage operations expanded to target critical infrastructure that the aliens needed to maintain control. Helen pushed herself to the edge of exhaustion, trying to perfect her quantum disruption technology. The aliens still controlled the galaxy and commanded vast armies, but they no longer faced a broken enemy. Humanity was preparing to show them what extinction-level rage actually looked like when a species had nothing left to lose. The moment that changed everything came from an unexpected source on a distant world that most humans had never heard of. Danny Martinez was 22 years old and had been working as a maintenance engineer on Vega Prime for 8 months since the forced relocations began. The Crystalline Confederation used the planet as one of their major manufacturing centers where human workers assembled complex electronic devices under constant alien supervision. Danny had always been good with small machines and hidden cameras, which made him valuable to the local resistance cell. His job required him to move through restricted areas of the manufacturing complex, giving him access to places where other humans never went. The Crystallines trusted him because he was young and seemed harmless. They made the same mistake that many aliens made when dealing with humans. The restricted areas included the medical facilities where the Crystallines had begun implementing their genetic modification protocols on human children. Danny knew that children were being taken from the general population for special treatment, but he had not been able to learn what actually happened to them. The aliens claimed they were providing advanced education and medical care, but parents noticed that children who returned from treatment acted differently. Danny finally got his chance when a malfunction in the medical center's power grid required emergency repairs. He volunteered for the assignment and smuggled a tiny recording device in his toolkit. The aliens allowed him to work alone because they considered the medical areas completely secure from human interference. They never imagined that a simple maintenance worker might be documenting their crimes. What Danny recorded inside those medical facilities was worse than anyone in the Resistance had imagined. Human children as young as 5 years old were strapped to tables, while crystalline doctors used advanced neural interfaces to alter their brain chemistry. The procedures were designed to eliminate aggressive tendencies and independent thinking, while enhancing obedience and work capacity. The children remained conscious during the operations, and their screams echoed through the sterile corridors. Danny watched through his hidden camera as doctors discussed the results of their experiments. They talked about the children like laboratory animals, noting which neural pathways needed further modification to achieve optimal compliance. Some children who resisted the treatment were scheduled for more invasive procedures that would essentially erase their personalities completely. The doctors seemed proud of their scientific achievements. The most horrifying part was watching children who had already undergone the full treatment. They moved like robots, responding to simple commands, but showing no emotion or curiosity about their surroundings. When adults tried to speak to them, the children replied in flat voices, using exactly the same phrases that their alien masters had taught them. Their parents would never get them back, even if the Resistance somehow succeeded in liberating the camps. Danny knew he had to get the recording off Vega Prime, but smuggling anything past alien security seemed impossible. The Crystallines scanned every human worker multiple times per day, using sensors that could detect hidden electronics. Danny solved the problem by embedding the data in the control software of a routine maintenance robot that was scheduled for transfer to another facility. The recording reached Kevin's underground network on Earth 3 weeks later through a chain of Resistance contacts that spanned dozens of worlds. Kevin and his team verified that the footage was authentic and began making copies using their hidden communication systems. They knew that showing the images to other humans would trigger an explosion of rage that could not be contained. Captain Ryan Stewart commanded a small fleet of disguised human ships that operated in the outer regions of several star systems. His vessels looked like ordinary cargo haulers and mining ships, but they carried hidden weapons and communication equipment. Ryan had been waiting for the right moment to reveal humanity's true strength, and the footage from Vega Prime gave him exactly what he needed. Ryan's ships simultaneously broadcast Danny's recording to every human settlement in known space, using emergency frequencies that could not be blocked or traced. The transmission included detailed information about the genetic modification protocols and evidence that similar programs were being implemented on dozens of worlds. Within hours, every human in the galaxy knew what the aliens were doing to their children. The reaction was immediate and explosive. On 17 different worlds, human workers stopped following orders and began attacking their alien supervisors with whatever weapons they could find. Years of suppressed anger and hatred erupted into coordinated uprisings that caught the aliens completely by surprise. The beings who had dismissed humans as a broken species suddenly faced organized resistance on a galactic scale. The uprising on Keth 9 was led by Tony Rivera, who had been preparing his people for this moment since the occupation began. His workers seized control of the mining complex's power systems and used industrial equipment to break into the alien armories. Within 6 hours, they had captured enough weapons to arm every human on the planet and were broadcasting calls for their alien masters to surrender or face the consequences. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy as human workers transformed, from obedient slaves into vengeful warriors. The aliens had made the fatal mistake of keeping humans together in large groups while failing to properly secure their weapons and communication systems. They had also underestimated how quickly humans could adapt alien technology for their own purposes. Dr. Helen Price received word of the uprisings while putting the finishing touches on her quantum disruption technology. She had been working almost continuously for weeks trying to perfect a weapon that could neutralize alien shields and sensors. The rebellion gave her work new urgency because she knew that human fighters would need every advantage they could get against superior alien firepower. Helen's breakthrough came when she realized that quantum disruption fields could be generated using modified alien communication equipment. The same devices that the aliens used to coordinate their operations could be turned into weapons that would cripple their technology. She immediately began transmitting her research to resistance cells throughout the galaxy. Admiral Frank Rodriguez had been preparing for this day since the original alien ultimatum. His hidden shipyards had been working around the clock to build a secret defense fleet using salvaged alien technology and human engineering innovations. The ships were smaller and less powerful than frontline alien vessels, but they were fast and carried Helen's new quantum weapons. The first major test of human military capability came at the Battle of Proxima Station, where Commander Steve Parker led a surprise attack on a Zephyrian supply convoy. Steve's ships used quantum disruptors to collapse alien shields before closing to point-blank range where human weapons could penetrate enemy armor. The attack lasted only 12 minutes, but resulted in the capture of 3 intact Zephyrian warships and their entire crews. The captured ships provided humanity with its first access to frontline alien military technology. Kevin's scientists began immediately studying the vessel's weapon systems, computer networks, and defensive capabilities. What they learned would change the balance of power in the growing war between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. News of the victory at Proxima Station spread through human resistance networks faster than the aliens could contain it. For the first time since the Compliance Decree, humans had proof that their enemies could be defeated in open combat. The psychological impact was enormous as human fighters across the galaxy began believing that victory might actually be possible. The aliens finally understood that they faced something far more dangerous than simple slave rebellions. Humanity was not just fighting for freedom, but for the right to exist as an independent species. The war that followed would test both sides in ways that neither had imagined possible. The galaxy began to understand what they had unleashed when human resistance transformed from scattered uprisings into organized warfare. Every human settlement became a fortress, where workers who had seemed broken and defeated suddenly revealed training and equipment that should not have existed. Every refugee became a spy, feeding detailed intelligence about alien movements back to growing human military forces. Every act of apparent cooperation had been carefully planned deception. General Carol Adams led the liberation of the Tau Ceti work camps, using tactics that no alien species had ever encountered before. Her soldiers moved through enemy positions, like ghosts appearing from nowhere to strike critical targets before vanishing again into darkness. The Zephyrian guards found their bases under attack from multiple directions simultaneously, while their communication systems failed and their weapons refused to function properly. Carol's troops wore newly developed battle suits that combined the best of alien technology with uniquely human innovations. The suits enhanced human strength and speed while providing protection against alien energy weapons. More importantly, they included quantum disruption generators that could disable alien equipment at close range. A single human soldier could now defeat multiple alien warriors in direct combat. The liberation of Tau Ceti took only 18 hours, but the psychological impact lasted much longer. Video recordings of Zephyrian soldiers fleeing in panic from human attacks spread throughout the galaxy. Species that had dominated space for millennia watched in disbelief as their most elite troops were routed by beings they had considered primitive savages. Dr. Nathan Ross had taken over mass production of quantum disruption weapons on the liberated worlds using captured alien manufacturing facilities. Nathan's background was in industrial engineering, and he understood how to adapt alien production methods for human needs. His factories could now produce enough disruptor devices to equip every human fighter in the galaxy. The quantum disruptors were game-changing weapons that neutralized the aliens' main technological advantages. Enemy shields collapsed when exposed to disruption fields. Alien sensors became blind, and their communication systems went silent. Even their advanced armor became vulnerable when the quantum fields that reinforced its molecular structure were disrupted. Nathan's factories also produced modified versions of alien weapons that human hands could operate effectively. The original devices were designed for alien physiology and were too large or awkward for humans to use properly. Nathan's teams redesigned the weapons with human ergonomics in mind while maintaining their destructive power. Commander Julia Martinez was developing new human naval doctrine that emphasized speed and unpredictability over traditional military thinking. Julia had studied every major space battle in galactic history and noticed that alien fleets always followed predictable formation patterns. They relied on overwhelming firepower and defensive strength to win battles through attrition. Human forces could not match alien firepower in direct confrontations, but they did not need to fight that way. Julia's doctrine used small, fast ships that could appear anywhere without warning. Human fleets scattered across vast areas of space before converging on single targets to deliver devastating attacks. By the time alien reinforcements arrived, the humans had already disappeared to strike elsewhere. Julia's tactics worked because humans understood something about warfare that most alien species had forgotten. Victory did not always go to the largest army or the most powerful weapons. Sometimes it went to the side that could adapt fastest to changing conditions and think creatively about solving military problems. The aliens attempted their own decisive action when they assembled their most powerful fleet to attack Earth directly. The combined armada included over 15,000 ships from every major species in the galaxy. They planned to end human resistance by destroying its home world and demonstrating the futility of fighting galactic civilization. Admiral Frank Rodriguez met them at the Battle of Saturn's Rings with every ship that humanity could muster. Frank's fleet looked pathetic compared to the alien armada. He had only 3,000 vessels, including converted mining ships and transport craft that had been hastily armed with whatever weapons were available. Most military experts would have predicted complete human defeat within hours. The battle began when alien forces moved into formation, expecting to overwhelm human defenses through superior numbers and firepower. They advanced in traditional battle lines with their largest ships protected by screens of smaller escorts. The formation looked impressive and had won countless victories against conventional enemies. Human forces did not fight conventionally. Frank's ships attacked from multiple directions using hit-and-run tactics that confused alien commanders. Quantum disruptors disabled enemy shields, allowing converted cargo ships armed with mining charges to inflict serious damage on vessels that should have been invulnerable. Human fighters swarmed through alien formations like angry insects, stinging wherever they found weakness. The turning point came when human forces targeted the alien fleet's command and communication systems rather than trying to destroy every enemy ship. Quantum disruption weapons wreaked havoc on the sophisticated networks that coordinated alien operations. Within hours, the massive enemy fleet had become a collection of confused individual ships unable to work together effectively. Alien captains, who had never experienced communications failure, found themselves fighting alone against enemies that seemed to know exactly where they were most vulnerable. Human forces concentrated their attacks on isolated ships, overwhelming them one at a time, while avoiding areas where aliens still maintained organized resistance. The battle lasted 14 hours and ended with the alien fleet in complete retreat. Over 4,000 enemy ships had been destroyed or captured, while human losses were surprisingly light. More importantly, the victory proved that alien military superiority was not as absolute as everyone had believed. Word of the human victory. At Saturn's rings spread throughout the galaxy faster than the aliens could suppress it. Species that had never questioned galactic military doctrine suddenly wondered if they understood warfare as well as they thought. Some alien commanders began studying human tactics and adapting their own strategies accordingly. The captured alien ships provided humanity with another quantum leap in military capability. Human engineers reverse-engineered advanced alien technology and began incorporating it into their own ship designs. Within months, human vessels were matching alien performance in speed, firepower, and defensive strength while retaining the tactical advantages that made them so dangerous. Frank Rodriguez issued new orders to all human military commanders throughout the galaxy. The time for defensive fighting was over. Humanity would now take the war directly to alien home worlds and demonstrate the consequences of threatening human survival. The species that had sought to enslave Earth was about to learn what extinction-level rage actually meant when applied with military precision. The aliens had made their choice when they voted to destroy human freedom. Now humanity would show them what happens when a species decides that genocide is just another tactical option in the pursuit of victory. The final phase of humanity's response began with a single transmission broadcast simultaneously to every inhabited world in the galaxy. President Richard Hayes spoke from the bridge of a mobile command ship hidden somewhere in deep space where alien forces could not reach him. His message was simple and delivered in the calm voice that had once promised peace between species. Humanity offered the galaxy one final chance to avoid complete annihilation. Every alien military force must withdraw immediately from all human space and formally recognize human sovereignty over their own worlds. All human prisoners must be released and returned to their families without any modifications to their bodies or minds. The species responsible for the genetic experimentation on human children must surrender their leaders for trial and punishment. The aliens had 72 hours to comply with these demands. Richard noted the irony that this was exactly the same amount of time the aliens had originally given humanity to accept slavery. The difference was that humanity actually possessed the power to enforce their ultimatum, while the aliens had been relying mainly on intimidation and superior numbers. If the galactic powers refused these reasonable terms, they would face the consequences of awakening a species that viewed genocide not as an unthinkable crime, but as a practical solution to existential threats. Humanity had tried to join galactic civilization peacefully, but their enemies had chosen to treat them as animals. Now humans would respond with the same level of consideration they had been shown. The alien response came in the form of mockery and dismissal broadcast across their own communication networks. How could a species that had been defeated and enslaved possibly threaten civilizations that had ruled the galaxy for millions of years? Human technology was primitive, and their numbers were small compared to the vast populations of the great alien empires. The ultimatum was clearly the desperate bluff of a broken race. Admiral Frank Rodriguez launched Operation Nemesis exactly 72 hours after the ultimatum expired. The operation represented the largest coordinated military action in galactic history, involving simultaneous attacks on every major alien home world. Human forces that had been secretly positioning themselves throughout the galaxy struck without warning, using weapons and tactics that their enemies still did not fully understand. The assault on the Zephyrian homeworld began when Commander Steve Parker's fleet emerged from quantum stealth fields directly above their capital city. The Zephyrians had never developed stealth technology because they preferred overwhelming force to subtle tactics. They did not know that human ships were orbiting their planet until quantum disruption weapons began disabling their planetary defense systems. Steve's forces used the aliens' own terraforming technology against them. Massive machines designed to reshape planetary surfaces were reprogrammed to target Zephyrian cities instead of natural features. Within hours, the proud towers of the Zephyrian capital were collapsing into rubble while their inhabitants fled. In panic through streets that were rapidly becoming impassable, Dr. Lisa Carter led the Biological Warfare Division that deployed species-specific plagues against alien populations throughout the galaxy. Lisa had spent months studying alien biology and developing diseases that would kill aliens while leaving humans completely unaffected. The plagues spread through alien populations faster than their medical systems could develop treatments. The diseases were designed to be painful and terrifying rather than simply lethal. Aliens who became infected experienced symptoms that drove them insane with fear before finally killing them. The psychological impact was as important as the physical damage, because Lisa wanted surviving aliens to understand exactly what humans were capable of doing to their enemies. Captain Amy Brooks commanded the assault on the crystalline homeworld, using tactics specifically designed to exploit their unique physiology. The crystallines were living rock creatures who existed in cities, carved from massive crystal formations. Amy's forces used sonic weapons that shattered their crystal bodies and destroyed their cities simultaneously. The attack was broadcast live to every world in the galaxy so that other species could watch the complete annihilation of a civilization that had existed for over 10 million years. Within a single day, the Crystalline Confederation was reduced to scattered refugees hiding in deep space, while their home world became a field of broken crystal dust. The Hive Collective faced a different kind of destruction when Commander Julia Martinez led coordinated strikes against their central command nodes. The hive mind depended on complex communication networks that linked billions of individual creatures into a single collective intelligence. Julia's forces used quantum disruption weapons to sever those connections and reduce the hive to billions of confused insects. Without their collective intelligence, the hive creatures could not coordinate their actions or even understand what was happening to them. They wandered aimlessly through their destroyed colonies until human forces arrived to finish them off. The species that had once been considered one of the most dangerous threats in the galaxy was eliminated in less than 6 hours. Each alien species discovered that humans had studied their weaknesses and developed specific methods for destroying them completely. The attacks were not random acts of violence, but carefully planned extermination campaigns designed to eliminate entire civilizations with maximum efficiency. Humanity applied the same methodical approach to genocide that they had once used for scientific research and industrial development. The most devastating weapon in humanity's arsenal was not technological, but psychological. As news of the attack spread throughout the galaxy, surviving alien species realized that they faced an enemy that did not simply defeat opponents, but erased them from existence entirely. Humans did not take prisoners or negotiate surrenders. They killed everything they encountered and moved on to the next target. Panic spread through the remaining alien civilizations as refugees brought word of the complete destruction of major galactic powers. Species that had considered themselves invulnerable suddenly understood that humanity possessed both the capability and the will to exterminate any enemy that threatened them. The beings who had once dismissed humans as primitive savages now feared them as the most dangerous predators in the galaxy. Some alien species attempted to negotiate separate peace treaties, but humanity refused all communication. The time for diplomacy had ended when the aliens chose to torture human children and erase their minds. Now there could be only victory or extinction, with no middle ground between those outcomes. The war ended not with surrender or peace negotiations, but with the complete collapse of galactic civilization. Surviving alien species abandoned their colonies and fled to distant regions of space, hoping to avoid humanity's attention. The great trade networks that had connected thousands of worlds for millions of years simply stopped functioning as species, focused entirely on survival. Dr. Kevin Walsh made the final entry in the Resistance's historical records from his laboratory beneath the ruins of Denver. The facility had grown into a vast underground city housing millions of humans who were working to rebuild their civilization. Kevin noted that humanity had tried to join the galactic community peacefully, but when forced to choose between slavery and annihilation, they chose to become the monsters their enemies believed them to be. The galaxy belonged to humanity now, and the universe had learned why some species were better left alone. Human fleets patrolled empty space where vast alien empires had once flourished. The few surviving aliens lived in hiding, telling stories about the terrible creatures from Earth who had destroyed everything they built. Humanity had responded to the threat of extinction with extinction-level rage, and now they ruled over the ashes of civilizations that had challenged their right to exist. The species that had once sought to enslave them learned too late that humans were not victims, but predators who had simply been waiting for someone to give them a reason to hunt.